to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. Did you just clear your throat? It's football time?
Yeah, I did.
I don't think you did it on the mic, but I heard it.
Yeah,
come through
okay,
my
I was
ears.
like, I thought I muted my button. Did I not mute?
Just-
So you're saying that when the intro song got to the part where it's supposed to be "It's football time,"
Yeah.
he silently with his
no,
mute,
not silently because I heard it.
so he hit his mute button and then went.
Yeah. Yes.
Did he really?
Okay, so I guess now that we're here in post, Jeremy, maybe unmute my mic, so that people can hear it because
it caught me off guard.
Interesting.
You could just tell he was following along with the song.
Yeah.
I've never thought of clearing my throat in rhythm.
I mean, I think I am with millions of people out there who, when that moment happens, you're saying it's football time in your
Yes.
head every time.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say millions of people
throat
clearing their throat
throats.
right during that
Why
time.
would you think that's what I was going to say?
Because you're Jason.
Okay.
You never know what you're going to say. Welcome in Thursday, May 1st, record release day. We are, Mike was out of town celebrating his daughter's birthday the last couple days. We're recording the NFC winners and losers from the draft this morning. We went through the AFC on Tuesday. So it'll be exciting to kind of walk through the divisions, the players impacted, the players we're excited about, all of our takeaways from the draft now that the dust has settled.
And we have even bigger winners than those young men drafted into the
Bigger than a
NFL.
lifetime dream?
Exactly. The draft week prize winners for the fantasy footballers, the listener league spot. Congratulations to Mark Roberts.
Yeah.
Mark Roberts, congrats.
Welcome in, Mark.
Also, Tim Olson got a Jamar Chase signed mini helmet.
That's
and
pretty good.
Linus, oh man, why am I taking this over you, Andy?
You took it upon yourself.
No, what's his name?
Yeah.
Jay?
His name is Linus Krulikas.
And what did he win?
Baker Mayfield, Laser Mayfield signed jersey.
Congrats, and hopefully everyone out there is enjoying the post-draft update to the Dynasty Pass.
Mhm. Yeah, rookie drafts are happening. Ours
Are they?
Yeah.
I didn't know about those.
Oh, then-
what are they?
It's where you get new, potentially really good young players for your team.
Andy has a history, if you don't understand the joke, of never having a draft pick because as soon as, like right
We
now,
got about two rounds into this recent draft because I see it happening on my phone. That's about all I'm paying attention to. And then I go, I should look and see in case I do have a third. I don't.
yeah, you usually around this time of year is when you get draft picks 3 years from now.
Oh, my gosh, I do.
And now
Yeah.
you have
Yeah,
something
you're
to
stocked
trade.
up again, Andy.
Now
you got
you
3
can-
picks.
now
oh,
you
my
can
gosh. No, that's
What is-
how I'm going to win
For
it
what,
this year.
2028?
Yeah.
Goodness.
Oh, boy, that sounds like a long time from now. Anyone want a first out there? I got a first very soon. Wait, is the draft over? Did the rookie draft
yeah,
end?
it is.
Oh, so do I have a tradable first then for real?
I believe
You
you
should.
should.
Shopping. I'm shopping it. So congrats to the winners.
Yeah, it's there. I see it. I see it in the system.
Oh, my gosh. It's time
Andy's
to dig
so
in.
happy right now.
Time to dig in. One other thing we wanted to mention is
It's like his allowance.
Right, yes.
my yearly allowance.
Yeah, now you
I'm
get to
not
go
gonna
buy a
make it to the-
veteran.
Yeah.
Get to go buy an old man.
I was gonna say I'm not gonna make it with Adam Thielen on this roster.
He's too young for
I've
you.
also got Ramondre Stevenson, guys. If
Whoops-a-doozles.
you're excited about that,
I am not.
the thunder to the lightning. You know. Yeah. I'm gonna need to find a running back. But one other thing we wanted to mention at the top because the good people at FantasyChamps.com let us know their draft board pre-sales underway. So there's 20% off their fantasy draft boards, free 2-day shipping when you pre-order them. That's if you're an in-person drafter and you got one of the big boards with the names on the wall and you need to pick one up. Just go to FantasyChamps.com. There is a footballers themed
Ooh.
Draft board.
Man, we let that happen?
We did.
You can only there's a part of the draft board where our logo is, and only good players can go on it.
I hope that if they buy the Fantasy Footballers version, that among the player names there's the three of us.
We're
you
draftable?
could be
And
drafted.
someone can just put us up on that board.
We're good locker room guys.
That's right.
It's like back in the day when you throw Tebow on the bench.
Oh yeah, I did that. I noticed.
Yes, some people do this.
I noticed on our Al Borland and I were in the championship game, and I went to look at who my keepers were going to be, and I look at my bench, and Tim Tebow's sitting on my bench.
Yeah, so you wanted that locker room presence.
Because I think I got, that Thursday I got down by a lot of points. I had a bad Thursday. I thought Tebow could bring me back. Didn't happen. Some people were asking who your franchise player was, by the way, because we revealed all of our
mine?
league. It was Christian McCaffrey.
It's Christian McCaffrey. So, yeah.
It's probably best you don't have CMC and T. Higgins on that roster together.
I have a lot of Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Let's talk some news before we jump into the NFC recap.
News and notes from around the league.
Well,
Get paid.
we got a money drop, don't we?
Yeah.
Is this a good deal for the 49ers? George Kittle, 4-year, $76 million extension, $40 million guaranteed. Was this a good – he's almost 32.
Yeah, it's –
Guess I was curious your reaction.
I think they were in a really hard spot of George Kittle is still the man. He still has it as of right now, and it was his time. He needed to get paid, and they will probably be overpaying for a couple years there. And I saw someone saying on Twitter, because this came in that it is a little bit higher than Trey McBride, who just set the highest tight end contract. I saw someone talk about, the last year is kind of inflated right now, so that's what boosts his average to be just higher than Trey McBride. It's oh man, that's some pettiness, and I love it.
Well, I mean, it feels a little bit like a thank you at the same time.
Yeah.
You just are expecting. I mean, we all have him in a pretty good place right now for fantasy players. They're going to need him desperately.
Yeah.
There's a chance, especially, I would say, I feel like George Kittle first half of this year is really attractive. Pearsall still needs to get his footing. No Brandon Ayuk or a barely recovered Brandon Ayuk.
It could be all year.
Kittle should dominate. I mean, honestly, I have a tough time with my dynasty rankings, and I think that most people will be like, "What? That's not hard." And when I look at Tyler Warren and Loveland, and you compare them to George Kittle,
right? Yeah.
Okay, so
it's tough.
you have the prospect of having
Could be a boat.
Right, exactly. You could have a young stud tight end. I mean, what is it worth? Obviously Brock Bowers this last year's worth everything. I'd take him, 5 overall in a startup. But for every Brock Bowers, there's a Kyle Pitts. There's a Dalton Kincaid. Right. I mean, usually
even give him a good forecast. Give him a McBride path. If you say Colson Loveland is going to take the Trey McBride path, you're still going to have to wait a while.
Yeah, you would have to wait a while. It would
At least
still
2
be
years.
It would still be well worth it to take a McBride path over an older Kittle.
But you couldn't have played McBride for 2 years.
But if it's I mean, I look back at the ADP of rookie tight ends drafted, and Sam Laporta is that's another great one. Sam Laporta went behind Luke Musgrave and Michael Mayer and Dalton Kincaid. He wasn't supposed to be the number one. It could be Harold Fannin this year. So it's tough when it's
Did you have Kittle ahead of both of them in your dynasty startup?
Right now I've got him behind both of them.
Kittle behind both. I have a sandwich, a rookie sandwich with George Kittle.
See, I mean, I get it. I have a hard time deciding
Loveland, Kittle, Warren.
Which player I would want.
Actually, a Kittle. Is Kittle in the middle?
Yeah,
it's a Kittle sandwich then.
Yeah.
What are you naming your sandwiches after your bread?
No.
I mean, you never had a sourdough sandwich?
No, I have not.
Okay. Not really.
Okay.
You have a ham sandwich.
Is that what a Big Mac is, though?
Yeah, the Mac is the middle.
Okay. This show's 2 hours already.
I think in a startup draft, I would take the rookies over Kittle and build my roster that way. But when you're in a dynasty league, there's a world where I would take a Loveland and I would trade him for George Kittle because I can win now, and I'd rather have the next 2 years of dominance.
I think that's the prescription right there.
Oh, man, that's hard.
The Falcons did pick up the Drake London 5th-year option.
What?
Well,
I'm just finding that out.
You knew that they were the only reason they hadn't picked it up yet is because they're trying to get a long-term contract. He's not going anywhere, but this is officially he'll be there next year.
And there is building interest, rumor mill here. The Cowboys bringing back Amari Cooper.
Oh, man, make that splash, Jerry.
We have
Now's the time. It wasn't you. Like, you can't correct a mistake like this. Like, it was such a mistake. We all knew it in the moment. It's like, let Amari Cooper in his prime leave to pay Zeke once he's aging out at the running back position. It's like, what are you doing? He sees the error of his ways. Now it's like, oh, we can fix this. We'll just bring Amari Cooper back.
So wait, no, it's Cooper washed now? Good, bring him back.
Yeah, pay the man.
And then we did get I can't find the drop, but we got a couple mediocre signings. Deontay Johnson, a 1-year contract with the Browns. Robert Woods.
All right, there it is.
Mediocre signing of the week.
So, I mean, that's where we're at with Deontay Johnson.
The Browns, this is I understand it because you can look at the production for a couple years ago, but the fact that since last offseason, he has been on 4 teams in that time, and you're trying to you're in a culture rebuild right now of the Cleveland Browns. Like, this is not a Super Bowl bound team. I don't think they're that far off. I mean, they got
This is their Elijah Moore replacement. Elijah Moore went and signed with the Bills.
Like, why? Why bring this guy in? And I think more and more, especially I'll say I'm being influenced by looking at basketball, but it's like the locker room guy narrative I always thought was kind of funny. I'm so in on it now. I am so in on it of you can have guys come into your locker room who could be great players, but they're a poison. They're a poison to the rest of your guys. Like, guys are like uncomfortable around it. It changes how you feel. In the same way of a guy, maybe he doesn't produce for your team, but he does because he comes in and he's just this rah-rah guy who pumps up your teammates. Everyone loves being around him. You set a tone for your team. I think bringing Deontay into the Browns right now is head-scratching.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
Yeah, Kyle, a glue guy.
Certainly the fact that every team that has brought him on has kicked him right out the door says that there appears to be a problem. However, he has been an important part of good teams before, and he's now paired up. All the quarterback questions for the Browns, I think Kenny Pickett's the starter. I think Kenny Pickett will be the starter on day one and will play the vast majority of the year. And this is Deontay Johnson is, who he has played with successfully. So I think this is a pretty good signing, to be honest.
I don't think it's relevant for fantasy.
I mean, I would say it could be relevant for fantasy.
I'd rather have Tillman. I'd rather have Njoku.
And that's fine, but
I'd rather.
I think the point is, if Deontay is a full-time starter for this team,
he'll be what Elijah Moore was.
I think that it really hurts the outcome of Jerry Jeudy personally.
Well, I'm
talking ceiling for Jerry Jeudy.
I think Johnson at this point puts the M in mediocre.
Sure.
I don't know. It's a 1-year deal. They lost Elijah Moore to the Bills on a 1-year deal. Robert Woods went to the Steelers on a 1-year, $2 million contract. He is immortal. Robert Woods feels like he should have retired
can't believe he's still
forever ago
getting paid.
All right, let's jump in.
Hey, rookie. Welcome to the NFL.
Let's start in the NFC South. Draft recap, winners and losers. Let's look at Carolina. Tetaroa McMillan, pick 8 overall in the draft and set up to, kind of just be the guy in Carolina at this point. I watched a lot of Xavier Legette. I think he's a talented player. I don't think he's an alpha. They tried to tell you this offseason that's how they view him. Then they went and spent the 8th pick on Tetaroa McMillan in the first round. They spent a 4th-round pick on Travis Etienne's brother, Trevor Etienne out of Georgia. Smaller change of pace back that is going to complement Chuba Hubbard. And, when you look at this team, it's good for Bryce Young to get
McMillan.
A formidable, contested catch type of player that's going to make life easier on him.
I thought the draft pick was fantastic. You're rolling out. I mean, Thielen's still there, right?
Yep.
So, with Thielen, Leggett, and then McMillan, this is a good wide receiver room.
And if you look back, we talked about this on the Dynasty show that came out yesterday. We did
forget about Coker.
We did
it's true.
2-round rookie mock draft, and
That's Coker, Al.
The hit rate of top 10 drafted wide receivers is very, very, very high. Kyle kind of did this study showing, especially if a wide receiver was projected to go there, not the guys that were crazy overdrafted that were a shock to go in the top 10, but the guys who were projected to go in the top 10, they pretty much always hit. And so this is a player who had a lot of drafts where he was going in the top 10, went in the top 10. So I think you can be confident it's going to work out for him.
Yeah, and I think for fantasy it's going to work out. I think Tetairoa McMillan will be important. So, I don't know what his ceiling is with Bryce Young, but it's not like we haven't seen Adam Thielen have long stretches of success there. He's a year older somehow. He's still a year older. And so it means good things for the Panthers offense. It also means the ETN draft pick, I think we all still view Chuba the same as we did before the draft.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So which is a running back 2?
Yeah, I think a quality running back 2. I see him as the running back 15.
Yeah, that's about where I see him too. The Saints at 5-12 last year, they passed on Shedeur a few times.
This was at the first point of the draft where once the pick came through, the hands went up to the face.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, no.
You said, oh, shucks.
Yeah. Yes,
so they took Tyler Shuck in the second round at pick 40.
We're back to this.
Yeah, it's time to play with names, baby.
He's workshopping. Don't forget.
He's a quarterback, and he's going to shuck it.
Yeah.
Down the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I know what was making the rounds with Tyler Shuck. It was the play. And
because that particular clip is so egregiously bad.
So there's one clip from the kind of workouts in the combine that was bad. There was one good play from Zach Wilson that completely drove him in drafts. I actually think Shuck is going to start for the New Orleans Saints. That's what I believe. I think he's going to be the starter maybe day one.
He could be. We have confirmation now from Derek Carr that his shoulder is a problem, but we don't know what exactly the problem is, if he's going to have surgery, if he's going to be able to play week 1 or not play at all this year. So it's really Carr's team if he can play, and if he's not healthy, which is seemingly very possible, then Shuck, I agree, would be the starter. But what's funny is you talked about that one play being so bad, making the rounds.
It wasn't even a play. It was a rep at the combine.
But I thought it was a different clip of a play. That was. Do you guys haven't seen that where he throws the ball?
Oh yeah,
underhanded.
Yeah, he goes full Will Levis
in the middle of the game.
Backwards.
That was the craziest play I've ever seen. I watched it 100 times to figure out, was it an accident? And it wasn't.
He is older than Trevor Lawrence. He is older than 38% of NFL quarterbacks. He will likely be the last player.
It's not likely. This is for sure.
He will be the final player drafted who was born before 2000. He played 3 years at Oregon, 3 years at Texas Tech, and a year at Louisville.
He was teammates with Juwan Johnson,
who was a wide receiver at the time.
Right.
So he's now on his second contract.
He backed up Justin Herbert in college.
Juwan Johnson is entering year 6.
Yeah, it's wild.
Oh,
but this was the big
man.
offensive move for the Saints. You could argue they needed more than this. Chris Olave, their confidence level in Chris Olave seemed to be on display by not taking any wide receivers in the draft at all. They took a 6th-round running back in Devin Neal, who we thought might be a day 2 pick. He wasn't.
Yeah, Devin Neal is probably my biggest faller from the draft. He was a player I really liked the film on, and so you've got an older Alvin Kamara and an unknown Kendre Miller. Will he ever be able to, play football and be part of this roster? The Saints ask themselves every day.
And Clyde is on the roster too.
Yeah, that doesn't matter.
But I'm saying that like the who is the backup for Alvin Kamara?
To be fair, Clyde
here?
has a lot more production than Kendre Miller does.
Yeah, that's true. I would, if I had to call my shot right now, I would say Clyde is the backup over Kendre Miller. But Devin Neal being in it, and Devin Neal's a very competent running back. He just went much lower than we thought.
Kamara, he got the contract, and then they didn't go out and spend a high draft capital pick on a running back. Olave, Shaheed, Brandon Cooks brought in this offseason. That's your wide receiver room. I mean, that's the way it is. They could add somebody. They could be a Amari Cooper or whatever, Keenan Allen. Right now, honestly, if I had to summarize my view of the Saints, I think they're a bad football team, a really bad football team. They don't have a quarterback. They have an aging star at running back. They have their defense is going to perform. But you're putting a lot of faith in Kellen Moore to get something out of who? Tyler Shuck?
I do.
Spencer Rattler?
I think this is, and obviously I was the anti-Saints person, the last couple of years. I feel like there are enough talented people on the roster where they could be decent. It's just a question of quarterback.
I do not think they have enough people.
If their quarterback is good, they can be a 500 plus
their
team.
win total's 5.5. They won 5 last year. If Olave misses time, when Olave misses time, you're running out Rashid Shaheed and Brandon Cooks as your starting wide receivers. This team was atrocious to watch play football last year without Derek Carr on the field.
Yes. I mean, if obviously if Shuck can't play and Carr is injured, no team is going to win games without a quarterback.
The divisions, Tampa, they're great. Atlanta, I think we expect good things.
They're on the rise,
right?
yeah.
So, Carolina, we'll see. Let's talk about Atlanta. Well, we're done.
They gave up a 2026 first rounder to go up and get an edge for this year. I mean, fantasy winners, Kyle Pitts, maybe.
Final year of his rookie deal. They didn't go take another one, but they didn't have the draft capital to even do it.
They didn't trade Kirk Cousins.
No, and he may be stuck there now. I don't know.
They're going to have to figure out that money.
Yeah, I think the Falcons are just kind of waiting and hoping that another quarterback goes down in preseason and that someone's hungry for Kirk Cousins. But yeah, there's not much here for the Falcons. I mean, the nice thing is the important pieces that we care about for fantasy are all super secure. No one is coming in to take work away from Bijan or Drake London. Thank you, Penix
or Mooney.
Be better, be good.
Yeah,
that's all. It just comes down to their offseason is Michael Penix, progression.
Yeah, I mean, Drake London's going to go high in fantasy drafts. I think we should not ignore Darnell Mooney. I think
agree.
He's at that stage of his career, and with the name and the expectations and the performances, where I think he's just going to be an eternal value until he's out of the league or somebody takes over his spot.
Yeah, 100%. There's going to be so many rounds in fantasy football where people are taking the player that could develop into they're going to be drafting potential, and you're going to get just a wide receiver 2 for your team on a weekly starting basis in Mooney, who doesn't have the potential to be a top 10 wide receiver, but it's just his floor is very high.
All right, let's take a break and we'll finish out the NFC South. All right, Tampa Bay. Well, they surprised us a little bit.
A lot of it.
Yeah, a lot of it. They selected Emeka Egbuka in the first round, pick 19. And Jason, you've sung his praises. This was one of the 5 first-round wide receivers on Ohio State a few years ago. What was it? Olave, Garrett Wilson,
Marv JSN,
and Egbuka.
All played together on the same team. 5 first round, not just. I mean, that is an insane stat. But yeah,
Ohio State wide receivers, LSU wide receivers. We
just draft them.
They're doing well.
Trust that they are good.
But it does throw a wrench into our projections for Tampa Bay because I think we all agree that he's a very solid wide receiver that can contribute from day one. I think we would believe that he's a better all-around wide receiver than Jalen McMillan.
For sure.
And Chris Godwin coming off the injury with the new contract, Mike Evans a year older. It's really, really good for this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like Laser Mayfield himself has targets all over the place. 4 talented wideouts, a really good tight end in Cade Otton, who he showed that he could step into an important role when wide receivers went down last year. And then Bucky Irving and Rachaad White, who are passing game weapons. That's 7 weapons for Baker Mayfield. It makes him resilient to injury, really. Like last year, Baker started out on fire. Do you remember this? And then he lost players to injury at wide receiver, and there was a little rough patch.
Mm-hmm.
He just makes him feel safer and more resilient, and this team is just running it back with more talent. So, no more Liam Cohen, obviously, but Egbuka, what do you expect from him now and later? Because it's hard to expect a lot in year one, but he is going to contribute.
Yeah, if Godwin starts the season on the pup, then Egbuka has a great opportunity to come in here and thrive. I mean, you saw Jalen McMillan have great success in a good scheme with a good quarterback, playing football in Baker Mayfield. So I think I'm higher on Egbuka this season for redraft and dynasty purposes, as in he's not just to me like when JSN was drafted and he's firmly behind DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, or when Odunze was drafted and it felt like he is firmly behind both Keenan Allen and DJ Moore. Egbuka is not as good as either of those 2 other players, but the opportunity he's coming in because of Godwin's injury, Mike Evans' age, I think he's going to be more relevant than Odunze and JSN's rookie season, but he does not have the ceiling as a player of those other 2 guys.
But you're talking about probably 700, 800 yards
yeah.
for that player, which has to impact your view of, if you're high on him, Evans, Godwin, how are you adjusting your perspective on how they contribute to fantasy teams?
I don't think I'm going to adjust too much there. I believe that this is an offense that has enough to go around. I don't think Egbuka is the type of player that's going to take away from Mike Evans. They operate in different areas of the field. Obviously, I think this is a Chris Godwin injury question, not like they drafted him because they're afraid of Chris Godwin not being there. I'm saying for production this year, it's when is Chris Godwin on the field and ready? How much time does Egbuka have to operate in the slot before Godwin comes and takes that role? Because Egbuka was a slot player primarily in college.
This will be one of those ADP things of like the scenario could be perfection of we love rookie wide receivers, especially over the second half of the season, and I really love when a rookie wide receiver is not like their ADPs are not Marv and Malik Neighbors. I know Malik hit, but it's like when the ADP is so high and your margin for error of that player actually coming through is small, I don't love that. But Egbuka, because of the situation and everything, but the draft capital is there. The ceiling is in play, in my opinion. And if he's going like this in the 7th or 8th round, then that's fantastic. Like that's the type of players that I like to draft and see if they hit.
Chicago spent the 10th pick in the draft, not on Ashton Jeanty, who they probably would have loved to have picked there, but on Colston Loveland.
Not on Tyler Warren.
Not on Tyler Warren, but on Colston Loveland out of Michigan. A field-stretching tight end with a lot of athleticism, drafted to a team that had Cole Kmet, who I think always have felt like has gotten the short end of the stick in terms of opportunity, because when he's been given targets and opportunity, he's performed well. And here's Colston Loveland arriving. And we have Bears fans in the office. I have a couple close Bears fans for friends, and they're all like just trying to feel good about this pick. They're trying, but it didn't come naturally is the reaction that I got. They're like, oh, okay. Well, Ben Johnson must know what he's doing.
Yeah, and
And Ben Johnson was psyched to get Colston Loveland.
There was a lot of reporting done about this being the player that the NFL was higher on than most people, in the sense that a lot of teams were trying to trade up to get Colston Loveland, and then as soon as the Bears took him in the 10th, all those calls up to the teams and the teens stopped. And so that, it was a lot of, teams around the league, they looked at Loveland like a good weapon. The issue that Bears fans have is wasn't really a position of need, wasn't the projected number one tight end in the draft. However, if you really just think about what's going to help the Bears do what they want to do, what they hope is going to happen, the hope for the Bears is Caleb Williams. That's it. This team goes with how he goes. They've improved his offensive line, and they've got him two really good weapons in this draft, a top 10 pick that is a pass-catching tight end in Colston Loveland, and Luther Burden III with their second-round pick, a guy who, once you get the ball in his hands,
I love him.
I wasn't,
love him.
We hadn't really discussed Luther Burden yet, but I think that this is 100% worth it. Like, whatever you're going to try and do and go after Burden, in talking rookie drafts, I'm very excited. It may be getting too far ahead of my skis, but it's like Ben Johnson comes in, the first thing he does as the leader of the Chicago Bears, I know there's GM and stuff, but Ben Johnson comes in and he's like, I want my Sam Laporta and I want my Amon-Ra St. Brown. And Luther Burden's going to be the slot player. He will be the slot wide receiver.
Which they Keenan Allen's now gone.
Right. And to me, like, I know Rome is, now that we have a bit on the show about Rome.
I don't even know who that is.
But Rome Odunze, is Rome Odunze a great, will he be a great wide receiver in the league? That's still TBD. I think he's going to be good, but Rome wasn't the guy picked by Ben Johnson. Luther Burden is. So I think that the opportunity for Luther to come in and get all those targets that Keenan Allen was getting, and Rome ends up at 800 yards again, I think that is not an impossible situation.
I am not I don't downgrade Rome a ton by this move. I think the move is better for the NFL than it maybe will be.
It could be that
for fantasy, because Burden can contribute in the special teams game and returns and end arounds and special plays. I think for the team, it's outstanding. Loveland, he's going to be your pass-catching tight end. Cole Kmet's an okay blocker, right? He's a mid-level, maybe a slightly above average blocker that they can use to reinforce the offensive line so they can run the football. I think one of the big surprises to us, you add two pass catchers. Caleb Williams is your future. You didn't add a running back.
Yeah.
They wanted to.
They added one in the seventh round.
Yeah.
But you had what? 2 seconds. Two seconds, a third, fourth, fifth, and sixth.
I don't know if you
add one.
If you paid attention, there was several times where the Bears were a couple picks away, and it looked like there were a handful of running backs,
Travion Henderson,
that were ripe for the taking, and teams kept picking running backs right ahead of the Bears, and then the Bears get on the clock, and then they trade back, and it was like, it just felt like the draft didn't fall the right way for them, which means it fell very much the right way for DeAndre Swift, one of the biggest winners.
I feel like he was in his hotel room slowly packing his bags.
Yeah.
and then
just sad,
and they're
sad
all
music.
packed up, and every time a pick would come off, he'd open up another bag to start unpacking just a little bit more.
He's like, "Oh, can I put my shirts back in the closet?"
Yeah, now they could have traded up. They had the capital to move up and jump a team for a running back.
We've all been here. I get not all of us, but if you've been in a fantasy draft where you can trade picks, if you've been in that format, you have definitely gambled and lost.
Mm-hmm.
Where you see a player's name drop and you're like, do I do it? Do I send this trade offer? Do I move up 2 picks to make sure I get my guy? You're like, no. I'm good back here. I'm good. He's going to fall to me. And then the pick right in front of you gets selected, and it's infuriating. So I think they gambled and lost that some of these running backs were going to drop to them. And while I can't disagree at all for the DeAndre Swift portion that you were talking about, Jay, I'm going ADP wise. I think that Roschon Johnson is going to be a
Sneaky.
name to monitor. Like
They must feel better about the room if they didn't move up.
if we get the full duplicate of the Detroit Lions offense, which maybe they do, maybe they don't. The draft certainly looks like they're trying. I mean, that would make Roschon David Montgomery,
By the way,
and he'll be used.
we are not even 1 year removed from a 4-year, $50 million extension for Cole Kmet,
Yeah.
in which he was guaranteed $32 million. So while he is probably irrelevant for fantasy because he's kind of always been, he's still a part of their plan for this team. It's just tight ends can be utilized in so many different ways. I would not be surprised if Cole Kmet ends up with 6 touchdowns at random times during the year.
Yeah, Dawson Knox is still a part of the Bills and has some touchdowns, but is mostly fantasy irrelevant.
So Caleb Williams a winner here, more weapons. They also, offensive tackle in the second round. Let's not ignore that, trying to get that offensive line that they were already working on this offseason through free agency, even more solidified. This was a team that was 28th in points per game and dead last in yards per game last year. It's a simple equation. If Caleb looks like crap this year, this franchise is in a full-on tornado tailspin of death.
Yeah, but they have done.
You have to give them every shot.
They have done literally every. This isn't like, hey, we're gonna over the next couple of years we're gonna keep adding pieces to the puzzle. They opened the vault.
Golden opportunity for him.
Speaking of golden.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, man.
Green Bay.
I was like, did we move on and I missed it?
Pick 23, a wide receiver, Matthew Golden, who I feel like Jason rarely misses an opportunity to mock or, share his dislike of. It's
I think we dislike the first-round draft capital.
Yeah, if Matthew Golden
he was rumored to even go at 12 to Dallas. He didn't.
Yes.
He went to Green Bay.
Yeah, Matthew Golden is a good wide receiver. I don't think he is. He's a good wide receiver. He's got the skills and the traits. You see it on film that he's good. He does not have a production profile in any way, shape, or form of a first-round wide receiver. Like, he might have the worst production profile of any first-round wide receiver ever drafted. He lands in a spot where it's very, very for now, this year, there's a lot of bodies there. You've got Jaden Reed.
Are you talking
there.
about Dobbs and Watson and Reed and Wicks and Melton and Kraft and third-round pick Savion Williams?
That is exactly what I'm talking about. So I think it's going to be difficult fantasy-wise to
I didn't
rely.
even say Musgrave.
Yeah, you don't need to.
I think it's going to be difficult fantasy-wise to rely on any of these guys. Now, Romeo Dobbs is in the final year of his contract, as well as Christian Watson, who's injured. So, going forward, Golden has an opportunity to establish himself. He's on a top 10 offense here with a good quarterback in Love. But I just think the talent is overblown for a player that could just disappear. I mean, I would watch his games and, go game by game, and I'd be like, I thought this guy was rumored to be a first-round pick. Where is he? And you just don't
The
see
rumors
that.
were true.
Yes, the rumors were true.
The rumors came true. He was a first-round pick.
Yeah.
Look, no team has drafted worse than the Packers, so that's not a boost of confidence. You could say it's good for Jordan Love. Yeah, more weapons is good for Jordan Love. Are the Lions a better team than the Packers?
Yeah.
Yes,
Are the Vikings a better team than the Packers?
I think so.
Yeah, close.
What about the Bears?
No, not yet.
So it's going to be really interesting. It feels like an important year for this wide receiver room. I don't want to ignore Savion Williams. That's a high draft capital pick.
This
Third
one
round.
was weird.
He's 6'4", 220. I think he's a very good player. But he's
a very specific player, though. At least
Yeah.
when you watched him in college, the way he was used, like this is a Debo player. This is a Cordero Patterson type of a player where he's not necessarily a refined wide receiver, but the dude's an athlete. So if you can figure out how to use him,
don't expect Dobbs and Watson on this team next year.
correct.
Those guys will be gone. And so, when you look to what the team will want to establish for Jordan Love, maybe you see those guys start to fade into the periphery a little bit more. I think Jaden Reed, Matthew Golden, Wicks, it should become more clear in training camp. And I'm not looking forward to projecting that wide receiver room in the UDK here in a month.
Yeah, I've even just.
You ever skip a team when you're going through?
Yes,
to come back to them later.
I push them back. I push
Yeah.
them back later because I'm like, man, I just don't have clarity on the depth chart here, and this wide receiver room is definitely going to be one where the problem's going to exist on paper that will happen in reality, which is all of them will be somewhat involved. They're going to go 5 or 6 deep at wide receiver who will receive some targets in the year, and that just stinks. It stinks because, for fantasy purposes, we want a consolidation of target share, and it's going to get spread around here, which is probably good for the Packers, but bad for fantasy.
I do think that if Matthew Golden, his best traits are properly applied by a head coach that I trust and a quarterback that can throw a deep ball, I do think there's an opportunity for him to come in and have more success than you'd expect, but you need that room to get, parsed down a little bit. Minnesota, not a lot going on in this draft. What did they have, like 5 picks? So they spent their first on an offensive lineman. They spent a 3rd-round pick on Ty Felton. Did you guys like Felton coming out of Maryland?
I mean, he's a thinner guy. Like, he's 6'1", but 183, very fast. I like it as a depth pick for this team. They were trying to sell us. Was it Jalen Naylor? Someone was getting some buzz this offseason of like, no, we're good with that guy as our 3rd, and I don't think they. I
mean, he's a fine 3rd. Felton will contribute, but you've got Addison and Jefferson and
for fantasy, it's
Hawkinson. If your name doesn't end with Son,
it's going to be hard
what about
for
Ton?
Felton.
It's not bad.
Can he become Ty Felson?
That would help.
That
would help
him get on the field.
Yeah. We'll take a break. We'll talk Lions in just a moment. All right. The Detroit Lions spent a 1st-rounder on D-line, a 2nd-rounder on O-line, and a 3rd-rounder on Tesla.
Hold on. Because this is one of the wilder picks for when you're talking rookies.
Tesla.
Yeah, spell Tesla, pronounced Tesla.
Isaac Tesla.
And
I'm going to call this kid Coleslaw.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. They
trying it on for size.
They select. This is what we're here to do. They took him in the 3rd. However, they had to trade up to get him. To trade up to get him, they traded 2 3rd-round picks. So Tesla, they picked this guy with 3 3rd-round draft
Are they
picks.
both in this year's draft?
I think they're futures.
They were, both next
They're
year's
futures, but it's like that's 2 future. It's wild.
What's wild about
Go
it,
ahead.
the thing that's the craziest is this is a guy who is a projection.
Wide receiver, by the way.
Yes.
Wide receiver. Giant. He's 6'4".
Out of Arkansas.
He's 6'4", 214, ran a 4.43.
A beast.
So his speed score, his athleticism, incredible. He has never had 600 yards in a season.
You didn't like 28 for 545 and 3 last year?
That is his best season.
That was a career high.
What was Legette's numbers as a senior?
Oh, they were
Legette's
massive.
were amazing.
Yeah, it was.
What am I thinking?
You're
of
thinking
then?
of the fact that before that,
Burden's numbers went down.
Okay.
I think what you're thinking about is Legette prior to his final breakout season.
That is what I'm thinking.
He
of.
had never had 200 yards. But yes, this is a guy who is an athletic freak. Has some great highlights. Although I went back to watch the highlights because I'll be honest, I didn't scout this player.
It's only 545 yards to go around.
I know. I didn't scout him prior to the NFL draft, so I scouted him after he was drafted. This is high draft capital on a great offense. This is an important one to know. And it was so weird because I'm watching some of the highlights, and he's getting on the field only when their team is up like 50-15. It's like, what? Why? It's a real confusing prospect.
He is the lowest targets per out run, which was 13.4% of any wide receiver taken in the first 3 rounds in the last 11 years.
Yeah, it's saying of this one is a full. It breaks all your process.
It's a Dan Campbell trust situation.
Yes, because like a 3rd-round wide receiver to a high-powered offense, I love that. But the fact that I have before the combine, like you didn't know who this kid was. He did make noise at the combine for sure. And then the fact that they trade up another data point, they trade 2/3 to go get him. But I have no idea what to make of this player.
Yeah, Terry McLaurin, Kenny Golladay, both third-rounders that people didn't have on their radar when they were drafted. You never know. You try to put trust in a team that's drafted very well. Tim Patrick, a loser of this situation. If Tesla works out, then maybe Jared Goff continues to benefit from more weapons. They did pick up the 5th year on Jamison Williams, but a long-term deal is not a guarantee there. Maybe they'll see what they have. I mean, a third-round pick, like you said, it was an area that they went after.
And people, I don't think drafters know what to do with this guy as in rookie draft. We do our main dynasty league. It's a 3-round. I know there's a lot of 4 rounds out there, but we're 3. I took Tesla with the second to last pick of the entire draft, a 3rd-round wide receiver. Like, people are drafting day 3 running backs, and
I passed on him in the rookie draft.
Yes, yeah, you certainly did. So I'm saying, is it going to work? I have no idea, but I love the athleticism. I love that Dan Campbell wanted this guy, made sure it happened. How do you trade 2 future thirds for a guy who's not on anyone's radar?
I feel like they could have traded back. That's crazy.
The Giants took Jackson Dart in the 1st round after locking up edge stud Abdul Carter with the 3rd pick. It was exactly as Jason prophesied.
It was
a trade back up into the 1st to pick up Jackson Dart, not Shedeur Sanders. All the reports that we're getting is that he's going to sit behind Russell Wilson in New York this season.
As long as they can do that.
As long as they can do that. I mean, it's
which is what, 6 games?
I mean, is that more comforting if you have Malik Neighbors or less comforting? That Russell Wilson's probably
neutral.
It's neutral. The thing that's not comforting is that if Russell Wilson does get benched after 6 games, now the problem is it might be Jackson Dart, and he's stealing away my sweet Jameis Winston nonstop targets. But honestly, it could be Jameis Winston still as the number 2. Both general manager and head coach have talked about their desire for Jackson Dart to sit and learn, and I think that's probably good.
Yes, I agree.
It's weird because, like, Dable feels like he's on a permanent hot seat. So the whole, like, hey, we'll wait and play him next year. It's like, are you going to be there? But they also spent I like Jackson Dart for what it's worth. I do think he's a good player. I think it'd be great if he could sit. If that actually was the way it worked out, you could have more of a
great
Jordan Love situation where he could come in with a year of experience. 4th-round pick, Cameron Scadaboo, running back, Arizona State, found his home. He was 2nd behind Genty in missed tackles. Forced, he's just such an enigma.
Yeah,
And
some people thought he might go day 2. He didn't.
We were hoping.
He was close.
He was very close. He did not fall far into the 4th. It's not great draft capital, but, the 4th round is in a deep class at running back. I feel like this is a very good landing spot
I agree.
for him.
I think you could have gone to a lot worse situations with much better depth charts. I mean, I don't know what this team really believes about Tyrone Tracy, but I think Scadaboo is going to have a role, and the way he grinds, I'll be shocked if a Brian Dable team doesn't get him on the field.
Yeah.
So, you talk about fantasy losers, you have to say Tracy is hanging on by a thread with Scadaboo there. Maybe Jameis Winston for Jason is a loser there.
Well, I mean, that's global. That's all of us.
Right. We are losers for
when
maybe.
When Jameis is off the field, we all lose.
And they didn't take any other important wide receivers. So, not that Neighbors was in trouble, but Wandale, Slayton, those guys.
Oh, yeah.
Congrats, everybody.
Wandale.
Dallas.
3 yards per catch.
Dallas, they went pick 12 with Tyler Booker, offensive lineman. I don't know if you guys saw, they kind of are labeling him the Jalen Carter stopper. But
that's big words here for a kid.
Well, so the irony of that situation is that he was an Alabama offensive lineman, and Jalen Carter was a offensive lineman in the SEC as well. So Booker hasn't given up a sack in the last 2 years.
Defensive lineman?
Carter, yeah.
Yeah. You called him an O lineman.
Okay.
Just making sure. I was like, wait, what?
I was just saying Jalen Carter played in the SEC as well. Booker didn't give up a sack for the last 2 years. The last time he gave up a sack, 3 years ago.
Really?
Jalen Carter,
Oh, no.
multiple times. So we'll see. But I like his makeup. They didn't spend an offensive pick. We thought maybe they'd go wide receiver or running back in the first or second round. Didn't do it. Resisted the urge. Went Jaden Blue in the 5th round, 5'9", 196 out of Texas with a 4.38 40 time. You know, are they actually content? You know what would be amazing is if they had just made the decision to keep your boy.
Yes.
And
I am thoroughly upset about it. That they didn't bring back Rico.
Because he would have been.
And Rico didn't go get money. He got
this would have been a Rico summer for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they went and got Javonte Williams.
They downgraded, man.
And Rico goes to play what? Back up to Chuba?
Yeah, he'll be in the timeshare over there.
He's got to be furious now.
I think that he should be coming off 1,000 yards, and you're like, hey, we're gonna get Javonte and Miles Sanders in here. That is ridiculous. That's what you're going to move forward with.
They have been addicted to has-been post-peak running backs for a while now. Zeke, last year they jackknifed him into the lineup. Dalvin Cook signing, Javonte Williams.
And then a dude runs for 1,000 yards. You're like, eh.
And it's hard to look at Jaden Blue as a bell cow.
He's a smaller player, a 5th round. He's going to be probably overdrafted for where he should simply because of the depth chart here. It's nice, the fact that these two rookies are bringing in. They only have to compete with Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders. But, the real big winner here is probably Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I agree.
And the wide receiver room didn't get stronger. You didn't get a big-time upgrade for CeeDee Lamb to – share the field with. I mean, right now it's Lamb, Tolbert, Mingo. I mean, the way they talked about Mingo after that trade, no wonder they didn't get anybody. They think Mingo's the next thing.
He's locked in.
This is why they're talking about Amari Cooper right now, because they desperately need someone. I think, their top 30 visits showed that they were looking strongly at a wide receiver. They brought in several. It just didn't work out for them that way. They need to add another veteran wide receiver.
Over under 185 targets
over CeeDee Lamb. I'm taking 200. 200 targets, CeeDee Lamb.
That'd work well for your franchise player. The Commanders, fantasy winners. Looks like the running back room's going to stay.
That one is shocking to me. I really thought Washington would go add some talent at that position.
Weren't they a top 30 visit destination for a few players?
They did. They were looking at running back. This is, I think, the low-key biggest winner in the entire of the veterans. Brian Robinson Jr., I don't know why he is so low in ADP. I mean, people view him like he's still dealing with a gunshot right now. I mean, this is a player who was really good to start the year, is on a great offense, has absolutely very little competition. I mean, Austin Eckler now in his 30s. They didn't bring anyone else in. I really hope Brian Robinson stays late in drafts because
running
I'm going to
back
scoop
33
him up.
right now in best ball.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
And
I
Eckler's
don't like
a year
him.
older. I mean,
Like I've never been a Brian Robinson guy, but that is if this is really the depth chart that they're going to move forward with, and he will be a late ADP in redraft, so he'll be a target.
I'm looking right now just on looking at sleeper ADP. He is currently being drafted behind Jalen Warren, behind Aaron Jones, behind Tyrone Tracy, and this is the starting running back for a great offense.
Yep. No wide receivers added, so they're going to have a real interesting situation going into 2026 because McLaurin, Samuel, Noah Brown, Gallup, Osborne, all free agents as of now. So extending Terry McLaurin, we'll see if that happens. The Eagles had a whole pile of picks. That's not fair. They spent a 6th-rounder on Kyle McCord. There was some talk yesterday. I think Rich Eisen was speaking with Howie Roseman, trying to get him to admit that they were going to take Shedeur Sanders in the 5th, which, read between the lines, maybe that was going to be the case. They go with Kyle McCord in the 6th as a backup. I mean, you talk about not much happening for fantasy. They won a Super Bowl. They like what they have on offense. They went to solidify defense with the first 6 picks of the draft, and then they went quarterback, tackle. Dallas Goedert still on the roster, not traded. Crazy endorsement from Howie Roseman. He said, quote, Dallas, speaking of Dallas Goedert, is part of the team as we speak.
Yeah, he was asked the question under the standpoint of, is there any way Dallas Goedert plays football for us? So I think there is maybe some contract issues there.
It seemed like it escalated real fast.
It did. I didn't know that this was Dallas Goedert is not gonna be an Eagle, and then all of a sudden, so I mean, TBD this offseason they're gonna have to figure out if they're extending him, trading him, or if he just plays here.
They
but
should swap him with Mark Andrews, make both guys, the two rumored departures. 49ers had a pile of picks as well. Their highest relevant offensive selections, round 4, Jordan Watkins out of Ole Miss. Jordan James, running back, 5th round. We thought they'd add another back in the draft. And, I guess you could say fantasy winner right now, Isaac Guerendo as a depth running back behind CMC.
I would say yes, he should be. But the 49ers are, when it comes to their backup, who's the actual guy, it's wild, and you got to pay attention to the news. You got to be locked in, because it would have been like last year's one of the fantasy winners of the draft was Isaac Guerendo, went to the San Francisco 49ers, and then you had and then did Mitchell get hurt? I think Mitchell got hurt again last year, and then it was it went real fast of no, Jordan Mason's actually the primary backup. So, yes, Guerendo as of right now looks like he's the Christian McCaffrey backup, which is an incredibly valuable position, but keep your eye out for Jordan James, JC.
Almost nothing to talk about for Arizona. They went defense crazy. Picked up Will Johnson in the second, first-round talent with some issues.
Literally a 6th-round offensive lineman and defense.
Yeah, that's all they did. So Michael Wilson is a wide receiver 2 for the team, by the way,
yes.
Not for fantasy.
Right.
Outside of Marvin Harrison. Did see some news on Marvin Harrison this morning. If
you
want it, put on a little bit of muscle in the offseason. Been working really hard. Yada yada.
It was just Monty saying
it was positive.
Yeah, I mean it's the normal stuff of the coach saying he can't wait to see year 2 of Marv. The Big Johnson the
Big Johnson.
Timeout.
Whoa!
Pause.
Oh,
Time
goodness.
Pause. Will Johnson.
Oh, they call him Big Johnson. Oh man. Big Willie.
Oh, the big
Will
story
Johnson.
of the draft for the Cardinals was Will Johnson.
Yeah. And that's that.
Oh man.
Wow, that's what that feels like, huh?
Yeah.
That feels real weird. And my face is really hot right now.
That's what that feels like, Mike.
But the big story is Will Johnson was falling.
You went back to big?
He was a big faller.
Yeah.
And people just kept saying, well, what's going on here? And then they were talking about the knee. I mean, he's a cornerback from Michigan, but he was the story.
Yeah.
That's not the story anymore.
Not a riser.
The Seahawks. The Deucer's Alley is loving this.
Seahawks. Let's turn that AC up, boys.
Oh, boy.
Woo!
Yeah, Seattle, they did some things. They chose a tight end in the second round, Elijah Arroyo. So, you talk about Noah Fant, I guess.
Yeah, Elijah Arroyo
doesn't matter.
Noah Fant already didn't matter for the most part, but he's going to be replaced here. Elijah Arroyo is a very capable pass-catching tight end, and this was great draft capital seeing him get picked in the second round. Gives you a little bit of hope. It's funny because you look back at the last decade, and most of the tight ends who have really come on strong outside of Brock Bowers and Laporta they're not first-round NFL draft picks. They're second-round tight ends that went behind other people. That's usually how it is. So you pay attention to a second-round pick, but I don't expect him to get on early, and the Darnold experience
In the third round pick was Milroe at quarterback.
Yeah, which
Jalen Milroe could start for this team.
I think that Jalen Milroe
Next year
is such a good sneaky third round pick and we're talking single quarterback rookie drafts because can Sam Darnold survive on this team? Is Sam Darnold actually good, or did he just have a magic year because of Kevin O'Connell? I think those are very fair questions, and Jalen Milroe would be like, this is a fantasy breaking type of a quarterback who is an elite runner.
He also completed 64% of his passes, not 53%
right.
like Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, he definitely has to improve as at throwing the ball, but I'm with you, Andy, that Sam Darnold, it could be a real fast experience for the Seahawks.
They have an out with Sam Darnold after this year, and this team doesn't, I don't know if they project. I think they've missed the playoffs 4 straight years. Like, if Sam Darnold doesn't work out pretty quick, or an injury happens, next year could be the Jalen Milroe experience.
Yeah, it was a good draft for Darnold in the sense that they used their first rounder on a quality offensive lineman. And so it's like that's what
Can they get
Darnold
4
needs.
more with that pick?
That's what Darnold needs more than anything to have that protection. So if he plays well, Jalen Milroe can become pointless, worthless, never see a snap. And if he plays poorly, then Milroe could for fantasy purposes, Milroe could be the best quarterback in this draft just because of how athletic he is as a runner.
Yeah, you had
fantasy winner would be Ken Walker. I do think Seattle got a steal in Damian Martinez in the 7th round, but it's a 7th round pick at running back. So, Ken Walker, it's a good sign that they're committed to him and to
they keep talking about him too.
And Charbonnet. I mean, there were rumors that one of those 2 guys would be gone at this draft, and they weren't. And they had quite a few picks. So
trade Charbonnet to Dallas.
Yeah, we'll see. Why not? Why didn't you ask him to trade Ken Walker to Dallas?
Because I'd rather him be in Seattle.
Would you?
I don't know. I'm just really excited for the offense, the way they're talking about it. And Dallas keeps screwing things up.
The Rams, final team to talk about here in the NFC winners and losers. They spent their first pick in the draft, one of just a few picks, on Terrence Ferguson. So we got another Ferg daddy.
Another turd Ferg.
And, 2nd round pick. It's a big deal.
It's a 2nd round pick, and it is for fantasy when you're not the elite top drafted tight ends like Loveland or Warren. You want to chase an athletic profile. We'd look at George Kittle. Not everyone's George, but I'm saying we have the data of that's what you want to chase. We overrate it for wide receiver. How athletic are they? But for the tight end position in particular, it really does correlate, and his athleticism is testing at the top of the chart.
Production profiles don't matter that much for tight ends in college. I look at my notes when I was scouting him. Not a ton of production, but I love the way he runs with the ball in his hands, breaks tackles and outruns guys. Very explosive, has jets and burst. I really liked his tape. The fact that he is a 2nd round pick, to a team that McVay can figure out how to use him.
Yeah, we've been here before with Gerald Everett, but I'll chase this dragon again.
All right. That is it for today's episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. If you want an extra episode every week, you can go to jointhefoot.com, support the show, become an official Foot Clan member. We'd love to have you. You get every perk and resource. And look, if you've bought the UDK, you want to be an Ultimate Foot Clan member, we'll give you a $1 credit for your UDK purchase that you can translate into an Ultimate membership and get you everything in season as well. That is jointhefoot.com. That's it. We're done. We did it. The draft has been recapped.
It's a big show.
We know everything now.
Thank goodness.
Take care, everybody.
I need a cold shower.
Talk soon.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.